Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a company that's right at the heart of the AI revolution, but one you've probably never heard of, Applied Optoelectronics. They're building the unseen engine that makes this whole AI boom possible.
Okay, let's start with a big picture question. We hear about AI and massive data centers all the time, right? But have you ever stopped to think about how all that information, all those trillions of data points actually move around? How does it all work physically? Well, the answer is light. It's information that's literally blasted through these tiny strands of glass. But here's the magic trick. You have to turn electrical signals into light, and then back into electricity again, billions and billions of times a second. And to do that, you need some seriously advanced tech. And that's where our story really begins.
And that brings us to AAOI. They're not a household name like the big software giants, but for over 20 years, they've been building the essential hardware, kind of like the plumbing for the internet, that makes our digital world function.
So, who exactly are they? Well, AAOI was founded way back in 1997. It's a Texas-based company, and their whole world revolves around designing and making these high-speed fiber optic products. Their goal has always been to power the gigabit age, and now, it turns out, the AI age too.
And get this. What's really interesting is the leadership. The company is still led by its founder, Dr. Chi-Hei Siang-Lin. He's the chairman and CEO. Having that kind of founder-led vision, with your chief strategy officer right there with you, is pretty rare and gives them a really steady hand in a crazy fast industry.
Okay, so what do they actually make? Let's take a look. Their products start with these tiny microscopic components and build all the way up to the complex systems that power huge global networks. And their tech is absolutely critical in 4 key areas. First, the big one, internet data centers, which are the brains behind AI and the cloud. But they're also in the cable TV networks that bring you internet, in the classic telecom systems, and even in the fiber optic lines that run straight to your front door.
They're doing all this on a huge global scale with a really smart manufacturing footprint. They make their most fundamental tech, the actual laser chips, right here in Texas. Then they handle the assembly and packaging in Taiwan and China, which puts them close to the rest of the electronics supply chain. It's a really strategic setup.
Now, this is where things get really fascinating. It's not just what they make, but how they make it. This gives them a huge competitive advantage, what some investors would call their moat.
It's a concept called vertical integration. And all that really means is that they own the entire process. Instead of buying key parts from someone else, they make pretty much everything themselves, from the ground up.
And this slide just perfectly shows you how deep that control goes. They start by making their own semiconductor wafers, then they turn those into laser chips, assemble those into optical parts, and finally build the finished transceiver modules. They control every single critical step.
So why does all this matter? What's the bottom line? Well, by controlling that whole process, especially making the laser chips themselves, they've become one of the only suppliers of these supercritical, high-speed parts that has a major manufacturing base right here in the US.
Okay, so this unique vertically integrated model puts AAOI in an amazing position to cash in on the absolute explosion in demand driven by AI. But that opportunity definitely comes with some risks.
If you look at their product roadmap, you can see they're going all in on the next generation. They're ramping up these 800 gigabyte transceivers. These are the superhighways for AI data. They're absolutely essential for the incredible speeds you need to train these massive AI models. And you can see their timeline for getting these out the door is pretty aggressive.
And to meet this just insane level of demand, they're not just tweaking a few things, no. They are making a massive move. They're planning to triple their most important production line, the one making those laser chips right at their Texas factory.
Now, if they can pull this expansion off, the potential payoff is just wow. Let me put this in perspective for you. In all of 2023, their total revenue was about $200 million. By mid-2027, they think they could be making $378 million in a single month just from these products. That's a huge leap.
And this chart really tells the story of that growth. You can see the lion's share, the big chunk, is going to come from those new 800 gigabit products. But what's also cool is you see them already planning for the next generation, the 1.6 terabit stuff, while still making money off the older tech. It's a pretty smart mix.
But, and there's always a but, this path is not guaranteed. They have some serious challenges. There's what's called execution risk. Can they actually build out their factory on time and on budget? They also depend on just a few really big customers, which is always a bit risky. And they've hit technical bumps, like a delay with the software on a new 800G product.
So that really leaves us with a central question for this company, doesn't it? They have this incredible US-based manufacturing advantage, and they're staring down a tidal wave of demand from AI. The opportunity is absolutely massive, but in this high-stakes race to build the future, having an opportunity means nothing if you can't execute flawlessly.